I'd like to welcome you to the invitation meeting. We had one slated here on the 28th, and the wind kind of got the best of us. We were going to have Bill Stenger moderate the next meeting too, and he's in Miami, Florida, giving a speech. So I asked Bobby Starr if he would moderate the meeting, and he graciously accepted. So here you go, Bob.
Thank you, Donnie. Can you folks all hear? If you do have a problem, raise your hand, throw something at me, or just do something to get my attention. Anyways, as Donnie said, this is a rescheduled meeting. It was a wild old night, and I finally made it home from Montpelier that night, and I got to North Troy, left down there about 3:30, went to North Troy and was going to drive back, and it only took me an hour longer to get to North Troy than normal, so it was a bad night. And then they called and said the meeting's been canceled, and I was already in the car headed to Westfield, and everything was great. And I said, golly, I don't know why they canceled the meeting. The storm's over now. But it wasn't over at 5 and 6 o'clock, I'll tell you that. This evening's meeting is put on by the group that has questions in regards to the wind and energy. And they have 4 speakers lined up that will give their presentations in regards to wind energy. Upon the completion of each of the speakers, we'll take 3 questions. And think about your questions so that we can try to get the question framed within a couple of minutes. And we'll take 3 questions for each speaker right when they finish. And then when they all finish, we'll open the floor back up for more questions. Before we get started with that, a couple of colleagues of mine I noticed in the crowd. Representative Hagley from Lowell, Representative. Pleasure to have you here. And Representative Kilmartin from Newport. You haven't got enough energy left to at least stand up? Thank you. And we do have representatives here from the utilities, both Green Mountain Power and Vermont Electric. So welcome to them. And it is great to see such a good crowd here. It's not as big as the last meeting I attended here, but it isn't the size of the crowd, it's the action within the crowd that makes it exciting. The first speaker this evening is going to be Justin Lindholm. He's from Lancaster, New Hampshire.
Actually from next to Rutland, Vermont, Mendon.
Mendon, Vermont?
Right.
Well, I've got you down as from where the wind turbines are over in New Hampshire.
That's where my vacation home is.
Oh.
And that's what I'm going to talk about.
You mean you're one of those guys that can afford a vacation home?
I sold the camp I had, now I got to build another one.
But anyways, welcome.
Okay. I don't like microphones. They ring in my ears. I'm Justin Lindholm. In one of the local papers, I was described as the guy with a weird expression on his face when we were describing or talking about the Bailey Hazen Road going over Lowell Mountain, and the weird expression I had on my face was when the fellow I was talking to described it as smooth. I don't recall it being smooth. In fact, the fellow I took over that road wouldn't ride with me again after that. Anyway, I'm up in the Northeast Kingdom a lot. Of course, I'm a down country boy. I hope I'm not, less rugged than you locals, but I am a moose guide. I don't charge for my moose guiding, and the reason I don't charge for my moose guiding is because I require my hunters to help me pack them out on our backs. And we've done one over a mile, and we've done 6 total on our backs in pieces. We try to keep the weight under 175 pounds, just so that we don't stress the hunters too much. But I do that on the side, moose guiding, and I have moose guided in this area, but I do a lot of it way up in the Northeast Kingdom. I mean, you are the Northeast Kingdom, but I do a lot of it up in places like Warren's Gore and Avery's Gore and those other places up in there. I also, in the last month, I've been up here with my chainsaw. That's another thing I do. I've been working clearing trees for a friend of mine who has a camp in the Northeast Kingdom, and we will be continuing to do that for the next several months. I'm good with a chainsaw, and I'm a good moose guide, but I'm not a really good speaker, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit. And I also know a lot about Leinster because I have 2 properties there. I've owned property there for, oh my lord, 1958. And my family, my father grew up in Leinster, New Hampshire, and I know the place very well. It's been described that the lady at the local store did not know me, but that doesn't really mean too much. I mentioned that to the town office the other day. It was full of officials, and they thought that was pretty funny that nobody knows me in Leinster. And I've been here for 55 years as my vacation area, and I love the place. And I also love your Northeast Kingdom. I like wild places. Leinster looks a lot like the Northeast Kingdom. Very nice wild stuff. I love that. Anyway, let's get on with what I want to talk about. I'm not anti-wind. There is one project that I will see from my picture window in my living room that is being proposed outside of Rutland that I have not come out against. There is another project south of that I have come out against. It depends on where the project is and how they set it up. And I'll go into a few things about Leinster, but I'm here basically to talk about Leinster, because I do know the Leinster side. When I was in the town hall the other day talking to the officials there, let me tell you, they do not want to talk about wind anymore. And they know me, and we talk person to person about the history of the town and whatever. And they were just telling me they're kind of fed up with this wind business, both sides. And so I had to sort of wheedle in a few questions and whatever that I wanted answered over a period of 3/4 of an hour to get anything out of these people. They are just windmill shy right now. I guess everybody and their uncle comes down. They just said they had a newspaper from up here, I guess the Caledonia Record down there, and not that the Caledonia Record did anything wrong, but they said, man, every time we get these newspapers down here, our quotes don't come out the way we said them. So that's the stuff they've been having. They've been having this pounded into them, all this windmill stuff, and the poor people are pretty well had it. Anyway, up in Leinster, or down in Leinster from here, the wind, noise of the wind I want to talk about. When I first noticed wind from windmills, I said that is a non-issue. I actually said this is a non-issue. It's not a big deal. When you stand up next to the windmills, they actually sound like a windy sound. It's when you pull back to about a mile, mile and a quarter, mile and a half, this windy sound disappears and it becomes a low frequency throb. And the throb is consistent in its timing. This probably doesn't get to some people, but it did start getting to me while I was deer hunting over there. Because I sit all day. I usually sit dawn to dark. And sitting in the woods at 2 miles, I can hear them. They don't bother me too much at the 2-mile range, but when I was sitting all day at 1.5 miles in the woods, it was getting to me at that point. It is a very interesting, penetrating throb that is constant. It doesn't happen all the time. In fact, you could take 10 trips down to Leinster, and you may not get to experience this throb, especially if you get next to the windmills. I actually like the way they sound when I'm standing up next to them. Yeah, I like windy sounds. I've been in the woods all my life, but I like the wind.